Michael, I have your
Welcome to the second class, part two of the final class of painting rocks in water. And this time I'm going to be glazing into this waterfall slash forest scene. I'm going to be doing it kind of back lit as if it's kind of a foggy morning, but warm, or evening. I guess it could be sunset. Maybe that'd be better because it'll be warm colors. So the cooler colors are going to be in the foreground, the warmer colors in the background, and we're going to kind of see how that plays out. I'm actually thinking I may glaze the entire surface with a warm quinacridone gold, which is a little bit of a difficult color to find. It's becoming rarer and rare. I'm not sure if manufacturers are finding out other ways to make it. But for a little while, it was considered an extinct color for painters. Anyways, I'm just gonna put that on there. It's gonna harmonize the whole piece, make it really quite warm, and then I'm gonna bring some greens into the water, some greens onto the rocks, some blues into the shadows, and then we'll decide what we want to do with those trees. If we want to push them back a little bit by cooling them and graying them. So we're gonna start glazing and just kind of modify it as we see it. I appreciated the feedback on part one, the waves and the rocks. And so let's just keep that conversation going and see what you guys think as we're going on. And somebody had a question and I cut them off very rudely. What was the question?
I was going to
may have been you're further away from your mic than we thought you were. Now it sounds better.
All right.
No, that wasn't it. I'm
back by the mic. All right.
I was asking about your quinacridone gold, how it compares to gold ochre. I bought some of the gambling gold ochre and I think it's really beautiful and it's a full transparent.
All right, let's try it. I've got some right here. I just saw it. I love that color too. It just comes out a little more yellow.
Yeah, I think it is a little more goldy yellow.
Right,
But it is a full transparent. So
oh yeah, no, it's a great color. So this is the quinacridone gold.
uh-huh.
And here comes the gold ochre, which I love, especially with Payne's gray. It's mixed, it's such a nice color. So maybe what I'll do is start the top of it because I know that the top of this painting is going to be a little warmer.
So
let's just grab
ochre and what did you just say? Gold ochre and
quinacridone gold.
quinacridone.
So this will be good. This will be a good
Payne's
experiment.
gray.
Yes, that's the part I heard.
Oh yeah, Payne's gray. So this is the the gold ochre. I'm just trying to keep my tubes out somewhere where I can kind of see what's going on. So this is that gold ochre. So it's very warm, very yellow.
But it's a little less orangey than the Indian yellow. I thought it might be a really nice wipe off.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. So there's that. Let's bring in the quinacridone gold right beneath it so we can kind of see the difference.
Oh yeah, big.
And they'll probably play very nicely together, I'm sure.
Very
So
nice.
I'm going to go back to my back to the gold ochre, and I'm going to put that on my highlights. And let's see if we can do a painting to start with. It's almost all warms. Just see how that plays, because sometimes a nice monochromatic painting can be just warms. Now I'm going back to my quinacridone gold.
Quinacridone gold looks like it has a little quinacridone red in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely more towards the browns a little bit.
Make all that look so easy, Michael.
This is easy.
Can you put some India yellow in there so we can see?
Yeah, let me wipe off the middle. Right there was going to be my brightest bright. Good idea. Let's see if I can, I'm going to take a little paint thinner just so I can actually try to get it back to white.
Yeah, before it sets too much.
Almost turns to Indian yellow once it gets thin. I bet you it has Indian yellow in it. All right, so I just wiped it back with a little paint thinner and then wiped off the paint thinner. I'm gonna go ahead and hit it one more time with a clean paper towel. It is a little bit stained already, a little bit on the yellowish side, but not bad. Here's a clean brush. So Indian yellow there. So you can see how, does that look pretty orange?
Yeah.
Glare.
Yeah. Let me just turn off these lights.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's orange.
Yeah.
So let me bring the yellow ochre, gold ochre back up close to it so we can really see the colors side by side. So there we have it. We've got Indian yellow, gold ochre, quinacridone gold. Let me get a little more of that quinacridone gold on here. And yeah, a lot of times I'll do almost monochromatic, like just purples and pink or purples and blues, maybe a little bit of pink, or I'll do, you know, browns and yellows and golds. And then you get a lot of harmony. But then you have to decide, you know, this is a very different painting all of a sudden, right? It's all very, very warm. So I'm going to start with my Indian yellow and wipe that down. And then I'm going to wipe out from there. I'll generally start with the areas that I want the lightest and the purest, wipe those areas before I get my paper towel gets all, you know, messed up from the other colors. Woo! Kind of cool looking, but very very warm.
The yellow's a little hard to wipe away.
Yeah, yellows are the almost fastest staining colors for sure. But you can already see how that underpainting is much more harmonious now, right?
Mhm.
Wow.
Kind of cool. Looks like an old illustration or something. I'm just going to take a quick photo of this so I can show the different stages. Because I am going to come in with some cooler colors. Actually, I'm not going to take a photo because my other video camera is being used to video. Doing a sped up version of it all again. So what I'm going to do now is add some of the quinacridone red.
Well, it is being recorded if you have to go back and,
Yep, I can just snap a shot, even though I've got this crazy glare over here in this part of it. See if I can change that light angle a little bit. There we go. Is that a little better?
Till not much.
There you go.
It's better.
Michael, do you consider your underpaintings in this case and in the previous one to be highly detailed in your, I mean, just in your opinion as an artist? Do you consider them highly detailed or fairly loose?
Sometimes they're really loose.
Mhm.
Sometimes, yeah, I spend a little more. I did revisit these since the last class, especially the wave painting. Just because yeah, it was really pretty just rudimentary.
Okay, so these examples, these two examples today are more detailed.
A little bit more detailed.
Okay.
Ooh, I like that red.
Mhm.
A little bit more.
Okay,
What color is that?
Quinacridone red. And I'm just kind of imagining this getting into some of those that like the where the light and the darks are meeting, or the warms and the cools. You get that kind of nice transition color. Also, when I come in with some blues, this red should create a bit of a boundary color, meaning it'll probably turn to purples a little bit, but it won't turn to greens as much if I didn't have that red in between those transitions. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Mhm.
All right, I'm gonna go a little bit crazy and go to ultramarine blue. Add a little bit of manganese blue to cool that down even a little more. Sure as reading is black on my over here. Add a little white and see where I'm at as far as that color. Okay, so it went black. So I just had a dirty brush. So I'm gonna not use that because I don't want to. So when it's so dark and I can't tell the color, just a little bit of white will help me to see where that color's going. So grab a slightly cleaner brush, hopefully. And I'm gonna bring in some cools, just so it's not all molten lava hot.
Does that have a little white in it?
No, I don't think so.
It's just the glare.
Probably.
And is there a particular reason why you use ultramarine versus Payne's gray? Because I think I would tend to be using Payne's gray in those dark areas. That's my
Yeah,
method.
you're smart. You're smarter than me. I don't have Payne's gray out.
Um, Payne's gray and phthalo green do some really fun things together, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm gonna grab a little bit of green, which I believe is like a sap green.
What's the name of it?
I think that's sap green.
Oh,
I can't really, again, I'm in a pretty dark studio right now. I'm actually looking at the monitor to see what the painting actually looks like.
Yeah, all those colors look alike when you get them on your palette.
Mhm.
And I want these rocks to look a little bit mossy. So I'm letting some of that green come into there. Let's see what happens. I'll knock that back. That's kind of working, right? It's kind of cooling down some areas. I don't know if you can tell, but I am definitely changing the pressure that I'm wiping away as I go through. Like this needs to be, less of this, more of this. This needs to be blended with the color beside it, less blending with the color beside it. So I am changing literally how hard I'm pushing, how much I'm wiping away. Also being cognizant of, am I contaminating the colors on my paper towel? If so, is that bad or good? Like, do I want to neutralize these colors and let them be a little more affected by each other? A little less, bright and vibrant. Move that, even get through that little last glare off there. So now all of a sudden, I'm hoping that the piece still has some of the warmth where I want it, and some of the reflections still have that warmth, but other areas aren't as warm. I'm still seeing like really strong reds up in here, which I don't want. But maybe just add a little more blue into there. It's getting a touch on the muddy side in some areas, but I actually kind of don't mind it because it's harmonizing and softening edges, maybe where I didn't need quite as much detail. Like in the edges of these rocks as they're going off the scene a little bit, maybe over here where I don't need the eye going off quite as quickly. And the nice thing, and if I had been a little bit more patient and let that first yellow warm layer stay in a little bit more, I would have less mixing, even like 5 minutes more. But I can still come through, let's just say where this water is here, and I want it a little brighter. I'm hoping that that yellow stain, yeah, it did. So now that blue green color that I've got on top comes off pretty easy. And little hints of that yellow are staying on there. So that's the nice thing about painting on a panel with a somewhat absorbent surface, is that I do get a little bit of time to kind of come back in and kind of clean out some highlights that I might want to preserve. And then I can come back in and let's just say I want this, this is facing away from the light. I want it a little cooler, a little darker.
It's a great warm-up. So it's the morning, and I'm a full-time artist, painter, drawer, whatever you want to call it. I like to just warm up at the beginning of the day with a fast sketch, or a couple fast sketches actually.
I think I'm hearing somebody's recording on their phone.
Yeah, could you mute, please, everybody?
I'm just going to go ahead and darken this pool a little bit here. Let's even add a little phthalo blue just to see what happens if it makes a real kind of again, a pool that I would want to swim in, that I'd be really happy to find on a summer's day, maybe get my feet in there. It's quite dark there, but I'll be able to wipe that back, I hope. And I know it's not going to be a vibrant phthalo blue because I've got all these greens and browns already mixed in there. There we go.
And when you say phthalo blue, is that phthalo blue hue or is it phthalo blue?
Phthalo blue.
Okay.
you might be thinking of manganese.
No, I've got a phthalo green blue hue and a phthalo green yellow hue or red
Huh.
hue. That's why I
Yeah, I
was,
don't know if I've ever seen that.
So do I. In my acrylics, that's the only thing. There isn't a specific just phthalo green, phthalo blue.
I found a phthalo green, but I don't know that I looked for a phthalo blue. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, and I don't know what the difference would be. Hue just means that it's, made up of other colors to look like it generally. A lot of people think that hue means weaker or, less strong of a color, but I don't believe that's true. I think it's
No,
just made up of a different color combination. It's just something to mimic the effect of that color.
yeah, it just makes it lean one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
I had one owner of an art store tell me it means that it doesn't have the harmful chemicals in it,
Really?
especially like with the cadmiums.
So if it says cadmium hue, is that what you're saying?
So where it says cadmium red or yellow or whatever hue, it's without the
The
cadmium.
cadmium.
I just decided to get a little crazy and throw in a bunch of phthalo green, phthalo blue into the water and see what happens there. Because I'm realizing I've got that warm brown underneath it that's already neutralizing it. And I wouldn't have really thought of that without having tested it. So
It says here in a paint name, it means that it is the color of that particular pigment, but it is achieved by using another pigment of similar hue.
yeah.
That was my understanding.
Yeah, because I've heard teachers say, "Oh, it just means it's a weaker, cheaper color." But I've never found that to be the case because manganese blue hue is actually much stronger than manganese blue and much less expensive. True manganese blue is very expensive color.
Well, and I can understand where Donna was coming from because they do make those up to replace other colors.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes sense. Yeah, if we can have the same effects of cadmium colors without having cadmium in them, that's great.
I wonder what the test of time, how these colors are affected.
Yeah, it's probably just going to be determined by what they're made of. But generally, if it's a hue, it's probably, lab made, so it might actually be stronger and better. Just like alizarin permanent is actually quinacridone red, which is a much better, more light fast color.
Michael, you might want to check with your friend at one of the manufacturing places about rats, I lost my train of thought.
Toxicity?
Yeah, or how they test it. I used to work in a lab where we had a weatherizer and we tested things that were supposed to go outside. And it makes me wonder if there isn't some kind of testing for permanency or.
Yeah, they'll definitely do the same kind of a thing for aging and yeah.
Yeah, so they should know a little bit about what some of those things are going to do in the future, just not really, really long term, I think.
Right.
Well, a lot of them will say light fast.
Yeah, that's true.
They have ratings on them. So I don't know exactly how they're testing them. All right, so I like it a lot more with the warms and the cools. When it was all just one big hot painting, it was a little bit discombobulated looking. And turn the light back on. So what do you think? Should I cool some of these trees down, or do we like that much light coming through them?
I'm hoping to see some more green somewhere.
I
Like on the
think they
rocks
need to
and
be
stuff?
cooled.
I agree, a little cooler.
Little cooler.
Yeah, otherwise probably like the top and bottom probably want to match maybe. Like too hot up there.
Would they be cooler along where the horizon and the bottom of the trees meet? Yeah, down in there, yeah.
Hmm.
The top is already going better with the bottom.
Yes, it is. It looks better.
All right, so because I've got all transparent colors here, I'm gonna have to mix either some white to make them a little more opaque. That's the only opaque color I have on here. Or I can mix, put them on thicker, but I probably just have to lighten them because they read all as so dark. So let's see if I want to add some like mossy greens on top of these rocks. A little white, a little yellow. Let's see what a slightly more opaque paint looks like.
I like that.
Give it some of that nice Oregon slime.
Exactly right. You want that wet, slippery moss slime.
Right. That rainforest slither.
Yeah.
Was this your imagination area or
No, it's a waterfall up in southern Oregon that I cannot remember the name of. Penelope waterfall or something. It's pretty hard to find. There's no markings or anything. You just kind of get the directions. They're like up the logging road, to blah blah blah. Penelope or people something or other. I'll have to see if I can find what the name of it is. So
Is
yeah,
that
that's what
reference-
I would probably be doing now, is because I've kind of got this nice undercolor for a lot of things that I like. And now it would be a matter of coming back in, just like in the waterfall or in the waves, is kind of figuring out, how much cool, how much information do I want in those shadows. Right now I'm just kind of adding cool, darker greens into some of the shadows.
Is that reference photo online, Michael?
It is not. I'll see if maybe it is. You mean on our Padlet?
Yeah.
Maybe it is. It's unfortunately I took it to almost black and white, and I don't think I have a color version of it. So I just kind of get to make it up. But I figured it's such an obscure little waterfall and just kind of looks like every nice waterfall we wish we could see, that it
Is
didn't
it-
matter.
is it Pearsony or Pearsony? It
Yeah, that's it. Pearsony.
in Prospect, Oregon.
Correct. Yes. So all I have is a really lousy photo of it.
Well, I found phthalo blue, phthalo green, and phthalo turquoise blue.
So I'm just gonna experiment with bringing some highlights of that mossy color. So I'm using the yellow or the gold ochre to kind of lighten up. Let's just see what happens. So this is opaque. I'm no longer painting as transparent, but I'm using, you know, all transparent colors. I'm just trying to make them a little more opaque, but hopefully they have a harmony because I'm using literally the colors that are in that background. So yeah, you can see the difference between these rocks and the rocks on the edges. How just bringing some opaque color in there. And it helps. Let's do the same thing, but even lighter. And bring that into the background a little bit. So I'm kind of working up the middle of the painting just to kind of test some colors and see how they play together.
Boy, that gives it more dimension.
A little bit more depth, yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm in a good spot. Truthfully, if I wasn't in class, I would stop probably here and then get back to it tomorrow. And that may be what we do. So we have a couple minutes to look at some of your guys' paintings here. Any questions about either of these demos that I've done?
I don't know if I care for the bright green and the rocks right in the middle. Yeah,
It'd be tough until I get more. And the good thing is I can always come back in and glaze over them. Like maybe I'm just adding texture and a little more differentiation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is pretty strong green, especially when it's the only spot. This becomes like a beacon, doesn't it? It's hard to look
It-
away from it.
it does, and it brings it forward, and the rocks on the right then are kind of pushed back. So
Yeah, and that's where it's like I don't know if I just knock those back or do I bring these forward?
I think first of all, there's an issue with how that color shows up on our screens. Because that looks almost blue to me on my screen.
It is
Yeah,
quite
blue
yeah.
green. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm kind of wanting that. So let's do on the tops. Let's warm that highlights up on the top where they're actually getting some of this warm light. But yeah, that's where it gets tough is like, you know, all of a sudden this color can freak me out. But until I get other areas kind of, you know, in harmony with it, I just can't really know. But the good news is I can, you know, wipe it back down. I can let it dry and reglaze into it. I've got options. I'm trying to hit some of the rocks that have the most light on them. That'd be the most extreme. Yeah, it's a tough call because some of these are just really bothersome to me, at least at this point. But I feel like I'm going to do better if I call it a day for this and then come back and either in an hour or two and actually just look at it. But I'm not too worried because if I hate it,
How would you finish the rocks right in the foreground? Would you just put a few watermarks on the top of them and leave them kind of the way they are? Or would you do more detail?
In here in the under the water.
Yes,
Yeah, I would have to kind of feel that out. It could be, it could be that these darks are too dark and a little lighter. I'm kind of liking this little edge of turquoise water, but I don't know if it's too vibrant.
Seems like just some ripples on the surface might be just enough.
Could be.
that's what I was thinking, but I wanted to know what he would do with it. I think the questions that you asked and we answered at the beginning of the start of the class was very relevant to how most of us feel. We want to see how you put finishing touches on things to
Yeah,
make.
and that is the tough part, is because a lot of time I have to sit with it for a little bit, right?
Sure.
Well, that doesn't mean you can't bring another painting in and talk about how you would put finishing touches on it.
Right, yeah,
That's-
exactly.
Or videotape them for a short add-on.
Exactly.
Yep.
That would be good.
Would be a reference that we could use.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work, you don't have to put it out. But
My videos of what not to do.
yeah,
Well, sometimes what not to do is just as helpful as what to do.
Yeah.
in most cases,
Absolutely.
yeah.
But yeah, that would be very cool if you could put the endings on there, because I feel like sometimes we're in the middle of a wonderful novel or a story, and then I miss the end.
No, and I want to know what the next, next book is going to be about. You're right. It is like a story.
So what's your one word that goes with this one, Michael?
Good question.
Now that you're halfway through the painting.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was really trying to figure out what color scheme to do it if I did it in all greens and but I kind of thought having some of that golden light might be fun, but now I don't know if the blues and turquoises are fighting too much, or if not, or maybe I can bring some of that reflected light down into here and harmonize it. But I did want kind of that magical feeling of I just think that Pacific Northwest forests are really magical with all the moss and the soft light and the atmosphere and stuff. So I was wanting to kind of tap into that, and literally like my favorites, thing is kind of when you're out on a hike and you bump into a swim hole, or a place that you wish would be a swim hole if the weather was better. So yeah, I would have to think about that a little bit, Gail. What would be my one word? But I kind of would like it to be like a surprise or an oasis, or you know what I mean? Kind of like when you just feel like you've discovered something somewhat magical. But
Your
that's
secret
kind of
spot.
it's a little bit of a cop-out answer, because that's not really an emotion. See if I can bring down some of that reflection, if that would tie this in a little bit.
I think sometimes the word is, what is the memory too that you want to
Right.
invoke, so you can get away with that. Your secret stream, or
Yeah, exactly.
especially if it was difficult to find.
Discovery.
I think that harmonizes.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
Isn't that interesting? Just bringing a little bit from the top to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks much better.
Perfect, Michael.
If anyone else is going to the Art Elements show, could be fun to meet up. How would we do that? Maybe via tablet, Padlet?
Yeah, I will send out an announcement. Is anybody here not want their email address shared with everybody else? Cause I always put it on blind carbon copy.
I'm fine with
If
it.
we're all cool with you guys sharing it.
No,
Yeah,
I'm good.
I don't
I
care.
think that'd be cool. We can kind of stay in touch during the
Yeah.
summer then too.
That's true.
I would
All
love
right.
to. Thank you.
I will set up a little chat email group for us. Literally, I'm just gonna label it as chat email group and you guys can stay in touch that way. And that way also because you guys don't get notifications when each person sends something to Padlet. So if you have something you're sharing to Padlet and you're just like, hey, do you guys have a second, take a look. Just put it on the email group. So we'll do that. Again, last time, does anybody not want to be on that? Okay. Fantastic. All right, Hoffman and incident is starting to wear off. And I'm gonna come back and we're gonna look at your guys' work. Just because yeah, that was super fun, but I could feel myself fading there.
And it would be
ton of-
fun if we could be at the artist reception, if you know when that is.
Yes.
Yeah, they are putting the dates together now. So I will definitely let you guys know through that email group.
Great.
All right. Do you guys want a quick couple minute break or do you guys just want to pop over and look at your guys' stuff here?
If you're fading, you may need a little break.
Yeah, take a break if you need one.
Yeah.
All right,
5 minutes, that's fine.
great. And
I
I'll just
tried to
stop the video
upload that
way.
video, Michael, and I couldn't, so I just emailed it to you.
Okay, no.
Well, I think you don't want to upload the video. You just want to upload the link.
Oh, I don't know how to do that, so.
Okay, so they didn't give you a link
Copy
to
the
it
link
online.
and paste it.